Well, in fact, Abhishek, tragic death of our soldiers. Who exactly is really responsible for this, and whether at all have we really done enough? Tonight, we're going to break details of reports that have not been seen before. We dissect who exactly is responsible for the deaths and who is really accountable for the death of our fallen soldiers. As we take you through the details of two unseen reports, ladies and gentlemen, which basically puts the spotlight on certain institutions that are responsible for our fighter jets, and the fact that accountability still remains completely elusive. Starting this edition with some breaking news now coming in. Tonight, we're going to take you through two CAG reports. These reports are the auditing that has been done on the Ministry of Defense. In fact, this is with regards to the Jaguars. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last few days, the Jaguars of our country, which are outdated, have now been back in focus. The spotlight has been on the Jaguars that have been flown by the Indian Air Force, Abhishek. In fact, in the first report that we are basically showing, this is CAG report 1 that we are putting out, where there is a clear mention of what's really happening with the upgradation, the modernization of the Jaguars, Abhishek.
All right, so Shravan, these are CAG reports, and essentially what they underscore is the kind of a mismanagement we have seen of situations of issues related with defense procurement, the delays in important defense platforms, the manner in which the HAL particularly has gone about its business of making those platforms, so the issues like engine integration, issues like bringing in the material, taking decisions on design without doing due diligence. This is one CAG report which talks about inadequate upkeep of IL series aircraft. Now, in fact, maintenance is one aspect which is already, Shravan, affecting the operations of IAF at many levels, and some part of the responsibility, of course, are shared by the HAL. We are going to get more details as we progress in this broadcast. And Shravan, what more you have?
Well, in fact, let me just quickly take our viewers through the first report that I'm holding here. This report makes a clear mention of the upgradation as far as the Jaguars are concerned, the installation of the autopilots in the Jaguar aircraft. Now, remember, as far as the autopilot is concerned, it is a safety measure itself, something that our old fighter jets did not really have. And that is the reason why the plan was to introduce autopilots, which would have been brought in by the HAL itself. Now, in this report, the CAG report, they make a mention that against the requirement of 108 autopilots projected by the Indian Air Force in 1997, 408 Jaguar aircraft, only 35 autopilots were procured between 2006 and 2008 through a contract that was concluded in August 1999. Repeat contract for 95 autopilots could be concluded only by March 2015. Out of the 35 autopilots procured earlier, only 18 autopilots could be integrated on the Jaguar aircraft as of March 27. The integrated autopilots were also functioning suboptimally due to the malfunctioning of their vital component, that's the autopilot electronic unit. 30 autopilots received through the repeat contract are yet to be integrated. Thus, the flying aid capability envisaged by the IAF for the Jaguar aircraft back in 1997 remains largely unrealized even after 20 years. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, it's important to point out here, the first reason why we're compromising with the safety of these very fighter aircraft. The situation hasn't really changed. Let's take you through the other details. Now, this same report basically mentions security gaps at air bases and highlights issues in procurement and maintenance. Now, I'm going to come to that in a short while from now. If we can just put across the wall that we have prepared and also get into our guests who are joining us on this broadcast. First, I'm going to take you through some of the details emerging Abhishek. That's report number 1, which makes a clear mention of the Jaguar aircraft, Abhishek.
Well, Shravan, in fact, what we are discussing is the depleting squadron strength of IAF. And these are contributing factors. So, for example, for the HAL to be not able to procure those GE engines, first of which arrived just last month, and not getting to grips with the kind of material that's needed for fuselage. We are seeing some reports. These are technicalities, and that's why we are going to get those guests and decipher for us as to what exactly has been happening, which has led to a situation where we have maybe 2/3 of the actual strength of squadrons that we need in the IAF. Shravan.
Well, before I just take our viewers through the findings of the CAG, which we're naming it as CAG Report 1, important to point out here. How do we exactly really phase out the existing fleet? That is the Jaguar. Remember, that was brought in as part of a collaboration between UK and France, and India was one of the countries that had taken the Jaguars. Now, the Jaguar is outdated. There's no doubt about that. But the Indian Air Force already has a strategic roadmap for phasing it out. But one of the biggest loopholes, or rather the hindrances, is the fact that they cannot perhaps do it unless they have new fighter jets coming in, which is exactly where the light combat aircrafts come into the picture. And who exactly is developing it? It is the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. If the HAL does not really provide the aircraft, then how exactly will the phasing out really take place? But going back to some of the key problems, and this has been highlighted by the CAG in report number 1. Report number 2 is even more scathing, ladies and gentlemen. Let's first take you through the first report. Can we go to the first plate? The first plate, if we can go back, and this is what it says. Autopilot installation delays. Now, the 2017 audit report pointed out delays in autopilot procurement and installation. Just to help you understand, the autopilot is a kind of a safety measure that most of our state-of-the-art fighter jets would already have it. But since this is an old one, it does not. So what is the best possible manner? Refit it and perhaps introduce it at a later stage. There is a considerable delay there. The report basically mentioned impact of reduced operational efficiency. Let's move to the other. Inadequate upkeep of the IL series aircrafts mirrored in the Jaguar fleet challenges. This again brings some serious questions about the maintenance, about the serviceability. And there are security gaps at the air bases too. Non-functional under-vehicle scanning system in place which compromise the base security. These are also what the CAG report basically mentions. Systemic failures. Yeah. Systemic failures, issues in procurement, maintenance and infrastructure stall modernization.